Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on this episode, we were at the wall again today. We were actually playing my Paladin, who is level 8, and he's doing pretty good. He's gotten about 3 bubbles into this level, actually a little bit more, but I had just died. He's beast though, me too at the moment. Tolok is beast though. Oh, okay, so he switched over to his other character. He died earlier, and he's just so far away. That he wasn't able to get back anytime soon. It's just, you know, he was spawned, or he was binded over in the Ogre City. And so that's a really, really long run. And again, like I said before, you can't really make the run just on your feet. You actually have to take the boat, and the boat is a 20 to 30 minute ride in each direction. So if you miss the boat when it just took off, that's, you know, 20 to 30 minutes there, 20 or 30 minutes back to you. And then you can get on it and take the boat 20 or 30 minutes over to the other place, and then you still have to run through, you know, Butcher Block, through, what is it? Man, I can't even think of the other name of the zone. Greater Fadar and stuff like that. So that's a very, very long, intensive course retrieval. Not the longest. I've seen longer than that. I've seen it like with my High Elf. I used to be bind over here in Greater Fadar quite a bit. And die in Seb, and that is a long run. That you have to take the boat. We got Beast back. No, it can't be Beast. That's, we got 2 of them. Yeah, they can't both be Beast. That guy must have not known what he was talking about. There you go. We got 4 tanks if you count the Paladin. And the Druid kind of fancies himself as a tank as well, because he seems to be up here attacking quite a bit and not healing. Now granted, his heal spells are pretty pathetic at this level. I think this guy's asking for help. That's why he's backing up. Check his life. He didn't snag it. Yeah. 82. I guess he probably could have handled it. And he was asking to join the group earlier, so yeah, he's probably not here to try to steal any kills or anything like that. Yeah, it is. That's definitely gutsy to do that, because he's not going to bind himself after that long course retrieval. Lazy, more like it. Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. But I mean, you can't really say it's lazy because you just did that crazy course retrieval. If you were lazy, you would have just been like, I'm logging off for the day, instead of actually putting the effort into doing that. And we're doing a lot better now. And I may load onto my cleric. I've kind of been talking about doing that. You know, I love the Paladin, but if he's not the pooler, I kind of feel I get a little antsy with him. It's kind of like, what am I doing? I'm not running out. And then when I was the pooler, I was doing a pretty horrible job. He's just too low to be here as the pooler. Because being the tank is one thing. If I was just the tank, I could probably handle it in the area. But as the pooler, you have to take the hits along the way back. And one of the best things at this level is to pull 3 or 4 creatures at the same time. So you got to be getting hit by those 3 or 4 creatures, and then you have to actually be able to tank the creatures when you get there. This guy's not really able to do that if the creatures are anything other than Centurions. If they're the Legos, which are the more common creatures to get, at level 8, you're just going to get beat on by the Legos, and 3 or 4 hits, you're dead. So definitely not capable of pulling this area yet. But one day he will be, and one day he will be a great puller over here, and I'll redeem myself on the videos and things of that sort. But for now, you got to accept your limitations. You just can't push yourself into places you're not ready to be and expect good results. It's just not going to happen. So, you know, be aware of your limitations, be aware of the creature's strengths and weaknesses, and exploit those as much as possible. But don't just expect that you're going to come in and be like this big, you know, bad guy, and just like, I can take anybody on, I can do anything I want. You're going to be sorely mistaken if you go into any zone thinking that, especially if you've never been there, because every zone is its own little multiverse, you know, it has its own rules, its own little pathing issues, its own creatures that have its own quirks. I mean, some creatures, they look easy and they have very few hit points, and if you go up to them, you could beat them down real quick. And in some groups, you'll never even notice how hard they really are, because the whole time they may be dotting you with all these disease spells, and the healer's just sitting there constantly curing you of it, and you're not even aware of it. And yet that one disease spell will do more damage to you than your entire life is worth if he hadn't cured it. And so when you come over there and you start soloing, you're like, oh, these guys are easy, right? They don't hit very hard, and they don't have very many hit points. And then they dot you, and you kill them in like 2 hits, and then you die. You know, like 2 minutes later because of that. So each thing has its own, and I've done it before, so that's why I'm laughing, because I know exactly what that feels like. You're like, no. And if you have bandages, you're as a tank, you know, a warrior, because you can't heal yourself. Or a Shadow Knight, you can't really heal yourself without a fight going on, and you usually lose more life in the fight than you'll gain from your siphoning, so it's not really a healing technique. So you use your bandages, and you're maxed out at a certain level. Whatever level you're at has a limit to what your skill can be at on your bind wound. And so you're sitting there trying to bind wound as fast as possible, and your life's going down, and you're down, you're like, no, wear off already, you know, and it just doesn't, you know, you die. And it's just that horrible feeling like you won the fight, but you lost the war, right? Because, yeah, you got that experience. That's great. It's awesome. And then you lost like 10 times the amount because you died. And that's horrible. That's when you know, okay, I'm going to stay away from those guys. I'm not going to fight those guys anymore. And yet in a group, those are the ones you want the most. Let's loot some of these things up. Oh, nice little pants. If you are a newbie, and you don't have any equipment, you can see that these guys drop tons of it. If you're working on your blacksmithing, make sure you pick up all the rusty weapons and things of that sort, because that's a good way to level up your blacksmithing. If you're interested in trade skills, I've done a few videos on it that people have requested. It does take a little bit of money for most of the trade skills. The only one I can think of offhand that doesn't really require all that much money, but just a lot of effort, would be tailoring. It requires silk from the spiders, the silken webs. It also requires pelts from other animals, different quality pelts for different quality armor. That one's kind of difficult to level up because it does require a lot of silk to start with. And of course you have to kill a lot of spiders to get that silk. But it's all free. You don't have to pay for any of it. Unless, of course, you don't want to sit there and harvest and kill these low-level spiders that you don't want getting experience off of. And then you can pay for it off of other people who have done it. And there's usually, in the East Common Land, somebody selling like 200, 300 stacks, you know, of 20. And they're kind of expensive. They're like 10 to 30 platinum a piece for a stack, I should say. So that will cost you a little bit of money if you don't want to put the effort into it. But there's high-level zones that have spiders that you can fight, so you don't necessarily have to do the trade skills at a low level. Although, what I found in these games, that if you want to put the effort in, do the skills at a lower level, it's a lot easier than coming back at a higher level and doing, you know, 80 levels worth of trade skilling all at one time, because that could be very, very tedious. So what I would suggest is every 5 or 6 levels, put aside, you know, 20, 30 minutes and a little bit of cash if you have it, to go off and level up your trade skill a little bit. That way it levels up with you. Level 2 sick tanks, yeah, and Legos. How's meta? That's nice. 2 sick tanks, and we have 3, because I'm not included in that. I do have pretty good armor. I got that from a friend, Groupie, which I haven't actually seen on in a long time. So, guy, if you're still watching, I'd love to group with you again. I'm not sure if you just got really busy or what. He gave me all this bandit armor, and he also gave me this weapon, which I'll show you guys. I've shown it to you before, but it's really, really cool. And, of course, you know, my ego's taking a hit because they said I wasn't really very good by omission, so I'm showing off a little bit. But it's not the greatest weapon, but it is really, really good for this level. Probably something better than I would have gotten for a long, long time. Because, like back in the day when I first created my character, I have a lot of characters to go from. I had my Shadow Knight, which was my only character, but my brother played the Druid, and another one of my brothers played a Paladin, and another one played, I think he was a Wizard. And so we all, and when I mean we all, I mean just me and my brother who played the Druid, basically tried to tweak them out as best as we could. So anytime we got a piece of armor at a high level zone, instead of selling it off, we would give it to one of them that we knew that could use it. And so basically we were pretty poor as a as classes go, or races, or just characters go, because we didn't really spend the time. Which Lego bracers were for that quest. Good thing that it isn't. Yeah, so I mean, if you have a lot of characters you're trying constantly outfit, you're not going to be a rich person. Whereas if you just have one character that you constantly group with and get a lot of loot that your character can't use, then you can sell that for 2, 3, 4K, and now you got quite a bit of platinum. You got a little bit of money in your pocket, and then you do that again, and now you got quite a bit of money in your pocket, and you can kind of see how your guy would be able to buy whatever he wants when he sees it for sale. Whereas most people who have several characters just don't have that option, and so they may not have awesome armor on all their characters, but they got decent armor on all their characters. And so you got to decide which way you want to go. Do you want to have one character who's completely decked out and all your other characters with pretty much nothing on it? Or do you want to have all your characters with decent armor so that you can log on to any one of them and get a group? And as you guys don't really see it, when I log on, it takes me a while to find a group sometimes. And what I'll do is I'll log on to my cleric, see if any groups are available here. If there aren't, if there's like really nobody in the zone, I'll log on to my Necro who's over in East Commons and see if anybody's over there looking for a group. Usually, and when I mean usually, I mean always, there will be a group over in East Commons. Unfortunately, they won't always have a spot open for you. Usually there'll be 5 or 6, 7 guys on the list waiting to get into that group. But it's always there, so if you want to wait and put the time in, you can get into that group. Usually I won't wait. I'll log on to like my Paladin next and see if anybody's in the lower level zones. Now this guy is actually with my cleric in the same zone, but of course he's a tank, whereas my cleric's a healer, and there's not always a demand for a healer. Sometimes, I hate to say it, sometimes you'll log on and there'll be 8, 9, 10 healers in the zone all looking for a group at the same time, and you're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Because if there was 8 or 9, 10 Necros or Shadow Knights or Paladins or pretty much any other class, you could all group together in the same group and still be able to fight. 6 clerics in the group, I mean, that's, yeah, you could all use your damage spells, but you're all going to be constantly out of power. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. They're just not at all, in my opinion, worth attacking, I mean, as a cleric. So I'll log on to my Paladin and I'll put together a group, a Paladin and a cleric. That's a good start. And then from there we can go and maybe get another person as he logs in. So I kind of want to go to a different zone with this guy. Although I'm not very familiar with what zones would be good for this level besides Crushbone. I'm not interested in leveling fast. I just want to check out some of the other zones. Unfortunately, when I was playing, there wasn't a lot of the expansions out, so this zone was pretty much it where people went at this level. And then once you got past this one, then the whole world pretty much opened up, and there's a ton of different zones I can go to. I'm gonna go to Unrest with one of my characters. I'm not sure if it will be my cleric or my paladin. Both of them will do equally well there, simply because of the fact that they both get damage versus undead eventually. I think the cleric gets it first, and the paladin will get it later down the road. But I'm gonna go there with one of them, and I'm gonna try to go to a different zone like Oasis of Mar or something with my Necro, or something else. Whatever you guys feel that you want to see. If you want to see a couple different zones like that, leave it down in the comments below. I'll definitely check them out as soon as I possibly can, and they'd be pretty cool. I like having that variety. Like I said, when I log on and I can't find a group in one zone, I can easily just load onto a different character and find a group over there. That's the benefits to having multiple characters rather than just one. Because some days, like I said before, you will just not... There'll just be too many of your class on in the zones that you want to hunt in. And it's kind of nice to have a solo class too, for the situations where, for whatever reason, maybe it's a holiday. Maybe the holiday... it's Thanksgiving, and everybody's... usually Thanksgiving is the exact opposite. Everybody will be on for the holiday, and you just have the whole zones camped for everything. But there are some holidays where you'll log on and just nobody's on. They're all busy doing something in real life, and so you just have to solo. If you really, really want to play that day, you just have to solo. And so having a class that can do that is kind of nice. And that's why I have my Necro, just in case. Plus, my Necro is going to be my money maker. he's going to be the guy who goes over and kills the giants for the 1 platinum to 100 platinum per kill. And basically helps outfit my guys so that they can be halfway decent and pay for the spells they need. The spell's incredibly expensive. If it hasn't been for the kindness of complete strangers and a few friends, I wouldn't have been able to buy the spells that I even have right now. Somebody, when I first joined on my Necro, I was doing a shout looking for bone chips or something like that. I wanted to know what the price check on them were, just so that I could get an idea of whether I wanted to buy them or not. And I guess somebody got the idea that I was a new character, and he's like, oh, you know, he started asking me questions, and I was like, yeah, I used to play back in the day, and I had like high-level characters and things of that sort, but now I'm back again. And he's like, oh, that's great, you know. And he's like, where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm at the entrance over here in front of the forest. And he ran over there, and he gave me a couple pieces of armor and 50 platinum. He's like, oh, those are for your new level spells. And I'm like, wow, I think that's a lot more than I actually need, but I was like, thank you very much. And he just laughed, and he's like, yeah, that probably make you for one level spell or one spell at your level. And I was laughing. I was like, yeah, right. I mean, they're not that bad, right? And little did I know, he was pretty close to being right. At my level, a lot of them are just gold. You know, they're just 2 or 3 gold, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal. And it's really not, as long as you're hunting and looting every so often and selling back to the vendor. But then some of them are 50, you know, platinum at higher levels. At mine, I think the most expensive was 4 to 5 platinum a piece, which really kind of sucks. I mean, that's a lot of platinum. That one spell alone is pretty much all the platinum you will have if you were literally looting everything you could possibly loot and taking it back and selling it to the vendor. You know, that's your entire life savings basically at that point. And so I remember back in the day, 15 cleric there. 15 cleric might be too high for me. We'll see. Only 8. Where's he at? We lost a few people here too. 10 enchanter looking for a group. Enchanters are great classes to get. Twolock is the leader. 10 enchanter. I don't see any cleric either. The Morton? Morphin? That's probably Morphin. She's a book. Yeah, it's probably her. I don't know what the black armor is, though. Not familiar with that. Of course, the armor does look different on the women than the guys, obviously. Over here and grab this guy. I think we already checked it, yeah. Yeah, a lot of rusty weapons here. Definitely use the sharpening stones on them. Even if you're not into blacksmithing, just use it anyways, because when you sell it, you'll make more money off of it because you've upgraded it basically. And I think it doesn't really do any more damage, but it has a better delay on it or something along those lines. Like I said, I've done videos on it if you're really interested in seeing that. But you do get more money out of it. Oh, I've done it with the food. You do get more money out of it, so it's definitely worth the extra little. I think it's like copper a piece for the sharpening stones. It's really, really cheap for that. Who's this guy? It's a Geordie. Yeah, I guess we're gonna kill it for him. Let's see, how much experience am I getting per kill at this level? I'll leave it up for a little while so that you guys can kind of get an idea of how much experience you get off of each one of the different classes at level 8, and so on and so forth. I kind of forgot to kind of keep that up for you guys because it does take up a good portion of the screen. In fact, I can go to fade and make it a little bit less. There we go. And now you can kind of see through it, as well as still see the little yellow bar and kind of be able to tell how fast it's going up and how much. And the fade is nice. I like the fade because when you're not on it, it fades like that. But when you go over it with your mouse, it becomes you know, solid again. You can't see through it. So that, like with the text, I can read the text for the most part on most surfaces, but on snow, it's really hard to see, you know, speech, the save button, because it's all white. So when you go over it, make it all black background, then I can read it just fine. It's kind of a nice little ability to have, because you can just make it where it's always like this, no matter when you're over it or not. But I kind of like this way. But you guys are more than welcome to customize your screen any way you want. Is Beast back? Yeah, he's back. Oops, he's back. Yeah, these corpses are all over the place. This is the problem, is if you leave those items on them, then people can't tell which ones are the new ones and which ones aren't. And you may actually have a belt on one of these just being passed up. Go ahead and link it, because I'm not going to type that out. Let them know there's a belt up. Hopefully I'll get level 9 here, and that's when I get my new level spells. And then I'll do a whole video where I show you what the spells are, tell you what they do. Unfortunately, I've already bought them, but I can go back and show you where you can buy these spells. They're just in the Paladin guild house. You can find some of them in the Cleric guild house as well, because you guys do share a lot of the spells with each other. But of course, it really depends on what town you go to. The town in for the High Elves, it's going to be found in the guild house where the clerics are, because they don't necessarily have one just for the paladins. And if they do, I couldn't find it. I looked through the entire zone and did several videos for that entire zone. I couldn't find anything remotely resembling a paladin's guild house that had any spells for them. So I had to go to the cleric's guild house and buy it there. Over in Paladin, though, you should be able to find one there. I do believe they have. I still have the note that I never turned in for this guy, because I made this guy with Gurp High, and we weren't like in a rush or anything like that, but I didn't want to make him wait while I did an entire video showing you guys where to turn this in. Like I've done it with the other ones where I start a character, I show you where to turn the note in, I tell you all these little tidbits that I think you would like to know when you first start a character and things of that sort, but nothing in there that I want. Let's go ahead and grab this Legionnaire. Oracle and Lego. Getting some decent experience now. And remember, the higher your strength is, the harder you will hit as a paladin. So you definitely want good strength, and of course the higher your strength, the more stuff you can carry on you without being encumbered. So if you're one of those people who like to loot, or like to have a lot of stuff on you, oh look at all this, like to have a lot of stuff on you, you know, in your backpacks and things of that sort, definitely worth considering playing a tank. But also don't be too upset that if, you know, you're already close to being encumbered at your level just by having backpacks and a few things inside of them, because at later levels you actually find backpacks like the Swiss Sewing Evil Eye bag over in Lower Guck. Can we handle throne? Might be able to. It actually is lower weight than your regular bags, and yeah, let me respawn to them. It's actually lower weight than your regular bags, and it has a reduction on anything that's in it. I believe it's like 35 to 50% weight reduction. I think it might be 35 actually. Weight reduction on anything that's inside. So if you have something that's 10 pounds inside, it's going to 35% off on its weight. So 3.5 pounds basically is taken off. Experience would be good. Pass. Tolik. Be right back, guys. Make sure we loot these things. Man, there's too many corpses. Somebody needs to loot this stuff. Still nothing on these guys. And you want to make sure that when you loot something, you can see that this one is highlighted. So that's the one you're looting. I wasn't even clicked on that. This is the one I was trying to click on, and yet it highlighted this one over here. So make sure you are actually highlighting the one you want to click on, because when there's this many, it's easy to miss this stuff. Warlord. This guy's standing right on top of the corpse, making it hard to target. So there's 2 belts. Don't know whose turn it is. Man, this is good experience. I'm almost gonna level. I can't wait till I get to level 9, and I can actually use my power. Celeste. I don't know what. I think she's a healer too. It looks like. Yeah, she's probably a healer. Cleric probably. High elves will almost always be clerics or paladins. They start with a higher wisdom base, which is why that's usually the preferred class. Again, you don't always have to be the absolutely best whatever in a in a group. You don't have to be the #1 guy. You can still pick a class or a race that I'm going to head out. That cleric might be a good replacement. Okay, well, I hope we don't lose anything here. I want the warlord. I want to take that guy on. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to be the best. You can pick a race that doesn't necessarily have the stats you might want to start with, particularly like the dwarf as a paladin. Well, a paladin would have been a good choice as a high elf, but I can still do it just fine here. I can get better armor. I won't be the top of the line, obviously. If there's like a high elf cleric, he's going to have more wisdom, or if there's like an ogre shadow knight, he's going to have more hit points because they just start that way with more stamina than any of the other classes and stuff like that. But you can still be really, really good to the point where people won't really care. You know, it's you're good enough. They don't need that extra 200 or 300 hit points. The only time I really ever talk about it is because some people do like to be the #1. They want to start with the best class they can possibly play, or the best race they can possibly play. They don't really care one way or the other what race they are. They prefer, you know, the class itself. I'll link all of that. Go ahead and kill these guys. I am 1.5 bubble, not even 1.5, 1 1/3 bubbles away from leveling. Let's see, she is what level? Red. Check it out in the Who All. She is level 12 cleric, which means she just got her new level spell. She doesn't get a new heal spell at that level, but she did get her new spells. I think she got a new buff or something along those lines, so. I'll just go ahead and loot that one since nobody ever else seems to want these things now. I hadn't gotten one in a long time, but as I said many times before, I really couldn't care less about loot. But I am getting close to having my new spells, which means I will need new spells to replace those, and those are going to be super expensive. So I'm probably going to sell these belts rather than turn them in, because I'm just right on the edge of where they're not really going to be worth it. So I'm clearing up some space. I don't know if these guys are even worth any experience. Let's see. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode here, guys. The next one may be with us over in the throne room, and if we are, that's going to be a pretty cool one because I haven't done any videos for that just yet. But I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like these episodes, please take a moment to hit the like button or subscribe. Definitely helps my channel grow. The more subscribers I get, the more video games I'm actually able to review. Some companies won't give you the rights or permission to do that unless you have a subscriber base that they are comfortable with. So Again, guys, I want to thank you for that, and I'll catch you on the next episode.